Hey, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the latest development in Zack Snyder's DC universe, or as we've all come to know, the Snyderverse. Zack Snyder directed several DC movies, including Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and of course, Justice League. Snyder's films are known for their darker, grittier tone, which differed from the previous movies and TV shows in the DC universe. While many and a lot of us love this approach, the movies received mixed reviews and there was a lot of tension behind the scenes at Warner Brothers. Recently, there has been a lot of buzz on Twitter about fans calling for Warner Brothers Discovery to sell the rights of the Snyderverse to Netflix. And in this video, we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of if this will happen, and well, we'll talk about the background of Warner Brothers and Netflix as well. So, before we dive into the details of this campaign, let's take a look back at the history of Zack Snyder's DC universe and how it got to where it is today. Snyder's vision for the DC universe was to create a darker, more realistic interpretation of the classic superheroes. He achieved this through a number of creative choices, such as the tone and cinematography of the films, as well as his design of the characters. Snyder's style was a departure from the more light-hearted and whimsical approach of the previous DC movies and TV shows, and many fans appreciate the change, including myself. However, not everyone was a fan of Snyder's style. The movies received mixed reviews, and there were some tensions behind the scenes at Warner Brothers. This tension came to a head when Snyder stepped down from directing Justice League due to a family tragedy and the movie was finished by, of course, Joss Whedon, which I was not a fan of that cut of the Justice League. I remember sitting in the cinema and thinking, dear God, this sucks. And I was actually close to walking out of the cinema when I watched that in the cinema. This event sparked a moment among Snyderverse's supporters known as Release the Snyder Cut movement, which successfully pressured Warner Brothers to release Snyder's original version of the Justice League on the streaming service HBO Max, which I watched the night it came out and absolutely loved it. So what we're going to do is now we're going to look at to see what's happening with this whole Netflix thing. So what's been going on with the Snyderverse lately? Well, in recent days, fans have been using the hashtag #SellSnyderverse to Netflix to call for Warner Brothers Discovery to sell the rights to the franchise to the streaming giant. The idea behind the campaign is to allow James Gunn, the new co-CEO of DC Studios, to create the new DC universe while also letting the Snyderverse continue to exist. Some fans believe that the success of Release the Snyder Cut movement shows that the social media can bring about change, and they hope that this campaign will also have an impact. The argument in favour of a Netflix sale is that it would give the Snyderverse a new lease of life and allow more stories to be told in the world. It could also potentially bring in more revenue for Warner Brothers Discovery, but there's also the fact that not a lot of people are liking the way James Gunn is currently handling the DC universe at the moment, myself included. I don't like some of the changes he's been made, don't like some of the actors he's fired, and also don't like some of the actors that he's decided to keep on. So, looking more into the sale, of course, not everyone is on board with the idea of selling the Snyderverse to Netflix. There are a few arguments against it. One argument is that Warner Brothers Discovery and Netflix have had a strained relationship lately. Reports suggest that Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav is unhappy with the payment terms offered by Netflix. So Warner Brothers Discovery has stopped selling shows to the streaming service for now. This could potentially be a roadblock to the sale. Another argument is that it's simply not realistic to expect a major studio like Warner Brothers Discovery to sell the rights to a successful franchise like the Snyderverse. It's a long shot to say the least. It's also worth considering that the Snyderverse has already been released on HBO Max, so there may not be much more incentive for Warner Brothers Discovery to sell the rights to another streaming service. And there's also the fact that the Snyderverse is going to rot on a shelf because now that they've moved ahead with James Gunn, they are not going to do any more with that storyline. They're not doing any more with that universe. They are trying to do a fresh reboot. So, for fans of the Snyderverse, including myself, if they don't sell off the Snyderverse, it will rot on a shelf, never to be touched again. So, where does this leave us with the Snyderverse? Well, if this sale was to even be considered, it is hard to say. As of now, it looks like the franchise is on hold, or as I said, rotting on a shelf. The Snyderverse movies are still available for streaming on HBO Max, so fans can still enjoy them there. However, it's unclear if there will be any new developments or releases in the future. It's also worth noting that the DC universe is undergoing some major changes right now, as I have discussed, with James Gunn as the new co CEO of the DC studios. Now, Gunn has expressed interest in creating a new movie cohesion DC universe, which would potentially mean that the Snyderverse will not be part of this new direction. Well, of course, it's not going to be. It's it's going to rot on a shelf. However, Gunn has also hinted that there may be plans for some of the actors and characters from the Snyderverse in the future, so it's possible that the Snyderverse could continue in some form. Now, that is misleading because from rumors we've heard, Ezra Miller is staying on as the Flash, which I highly disagree with. Henry Cavill has been fired and said there may be a role later on, but not as Superman. And I believe Jason Momoa may be transitioning to the role of Lobo, which I will admit does suit him perfectly, and he would play that very well. So to wrap things up, we've been discussing the recent campaign by Zack Snyder fans calling for Warner Brothers Discovery to sell the rights to the Snyderverse to Netflix. I'm on the fence about this. Don't think it's going to happen. Would love it, but I don't think it will. While there are arguments for both for and against the sale, it's unclear what the future holds for the Snyderverse. For now, fans can continue to enjoy the movies on HBO Max, and we'll have to wait and see what developments come in the future. Now, thanks for tuning in today. I really appreciate it, but I want to know what you think. Do you think Warner Brothers Discovery will sell it to Netflix? Do you want to see more Snyderverse movies, or are you excited to see what James Gunn will do with DC Studios? Pop a comment below, and if you enjoyed what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one.